Hi, my name is Imbi Neeme and I am the author of The Spill. I've been invited by Bookface today to answer a few questions about my book, which is the debut book that won the 2019 Penguin Literary Prize. La-di-da. It was actually a great thrill of my life to win that prize. So I am one very lucky lady, and I am going to answer the questions now. Number one, tell us a little bit about your book, The Spill. That's actually a good question because that's why I'm here to talk about my book, The Spill. The story is about two sisters who have become estranged and who, in the wake of their mother's death, find a way to come back together. When people ask me, tell what's your book about? I usually give them the elevator pitch, and I have admitted elsewhere that I've never given it in an elevator, but one day, who knows? And that elevator pitch goes like this. No two people ever experience or remember the same thing in the same way, especially when they're sisters. Since I was fascinated with this kind of the sister dynamic, it's unlike any other combination within families, and it's sort of full of tensions and misunderstandings and miscommunications, but also all wrapped up in this big bow of love and loyalty. I just thought it was such great, rich material. So number two is, where did the inspiration for the two sisters, Nicole and Samantha, come from? Well, clearly I wanted to write about the sister relationship. I have two sisters, and a lot of my friends have sisters, and over the years I've just collected all these stories, and there are just too many of them not to turn them into a novel. And in terms of the two sisters, people say, oh, which one are you? Are you Nicole or are you Samantha? The truth is, I'm both. They're kind of both expressions of me, which sounds like a bit of a megalomaniac thing to say. Oh, I've written a book with two protagonists, which are essentially me. But I should add, for anyone who's read the book, they're not entirely me. So I'll just leave that with you, but I'm not exactly like them. Anyway, before you start worrying about me. Anyway, number three, the structure of the book is non-linear, moving between, being past and present, as well as shifting between the different perspectives of the two sisters. How did you approach the writing process for this novel? With great difficulty is the answer. It was an ambitious project. I wanted the whole thing to be kind of structured like a jigsaw puzzle, where slowly I was giving pieces from different parts of the puzzle to the reader so that they could slowly build up this sort of picture of, what had happened to these two sisters. And in the course of their lives, how they've become who they've become. And to manage that, I made a spreadsheet because I'm an administrator by day. So when I'm not writing or looking after my various children, I build spreadsheets for myself so I can track information. So this was definitely a case for a spreadsheet. I could sort it, all the chapters chronologically, or I could sort them according to, their order within the actual manuscript. I could keep track of, people's ages, where they were living, and, also sort of make sure that each chapter was working hard, earned its place in the story. So thank God for that spreadsheet, because it literally was too much information for me to be able to carry around in my head. Question number 4. You've mentioned before that this novel is inspired in part by a car accident you were in when you were a child. Do you find that it's easier to write from a place of personal knowledge and experience, or does that present its own difficulties? Look, I think, to be honest, most writers probably start with a place of experience or knowledge, and then, try and move away from that into fiction. We all cannibalize our lives and the lives of people around us. But yes, it is difficult because, you run the risk of flying too close to the sun when you're telling other people's stories, and you need to just be mindful of, that old plagiarism thing, that it's like 70% different than it's not plagiarism, but something like that. But you have to be mindful of other people's stories, and if you're flying too close to the sun, to that truth, make sure that you get the consent of the people whose stories you're kind of using. Anyway, that's just my opinion. I'm sure other people would say quite different things. Number 5, do you read other books while you're writing? And were there any other books that inspired this novel? Well, clearly, like all writers, I think, you know, this is a book unlike any other. A bit like, you know, a mother and her child. Her child is special, more special than other children. But, you know, I don't really think that. I don't read when I'm writing. I mean, I read just before I go to sleep, but if I'm given the choice between writing and reading, I generally choose writing, particularly when I'm in the middle of a story. When I'm kind of researching or easing my way into a story, then yeah, I'll try and read widely, because I think it's really important to read other people's works, and you kind of, ideas get sparked, and you kind of, it's all like a chain reaction, and becomes your own writing, taking other people's ideas. I mean, not plagiarizing, you know, just for anyone sort of starts legal action. So I wish I had more time for reading. I think a lot of people have that wish, and yeah, I have plans on how to carve out that time, but just haven't quite executed it yet. And finally, number 6, what do you hope readers take away with them after reading The Spill? I like to think The Spill is a very human book. It's about very human humans, humanly humans. They're deeply flawed and frustrating, but also, you know, you can't help but feel for them. And I think that's something I really wanted to do, was kind of, I don't know, deconstruct some of those instant judgments that you make about people. So we see a situation from one character's point of view, but then we see how the other person thinks, and you realize, oh, I was quick to judge there. So I hope that people will think about those family members that they might have problems with, and maybe extend a little bit of empathy or sort of understanding, or take a moment to consider what it might be like to walk around in their shoes. So that's all the questions. So I'm so thrilled that Bookface asked me to answer these questions, and not ask them, although I did ask them to myself. Here is The Spill. Go into Bookface, buy it, and, you know, thanks so much for listening.